Hey, I get it, you're standing in your shop, hands on a piece of rough lumber, and you're wondering if that pricey jointer you've been eyeing will actually make your workflow smoother or just sit idle in the corner. You've probably spent a few evenings watching demo videos, scrolling through a handful of forum threads, and maybe even asking a buddy who already owns one whether it's worth the investment. Before you click add to cart and risk spending a chunk of your budget on a tool that might not fit your needs, let me walk you through the real-world considerations for the Powermatic ArmorGlide 8-inch parallelogram jointer. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the thing that sets this jointer apart from a lot of entry-level models is the parallelogram design. In plain English, that means the cutter head sits much closer to the table surface than on a traditional swing arm unit. When you're flattening a 48 sheet of plywood or ripping a long board, that extra clearance translates into less overhang, which reduces the chance of chatter or tear out at the end of the cut. I've seen hobbyists struggle with that exact issue on older machines, having to make a second pass or trim the edge with a planer just because the jointer's head can't get close enough. With the ArmorGlide, the proximity is built in, so the first pass often does the job. Now, the cutter head itself is helical and packed with 54 four-side carbide inserts. Those inserts are engineered to stay sharp longer than the standard straight-cut knives you find on most mid-range jointers. In a shop that does a lot of hardwood work, you'll notice a smoother surface right out of the first pass, and you'll spend less time swapping out dull blades. The low-friction, industrial-grade coating on the table surface also helps. Rust resistance is a genuine plus if you keep the machine in a damp basement or if you're prone to splatter water during cleanup. It's not a miracle coating that prevents every scratch, but it does mean you're not constantly fighting surface rust that can affect the joint's finish. That said, there are a couple of trade-offs you should weigh. The machine runs on 230V, 2 HP motor, which delivers solid power for most residential and light commercial tasks, but it's not a beast that will chew through thick, dense hardwood slabs in seconds. If you're planning to do heavy-duty production work, think 2-inch thick oak beams daily. You might find the feed rate a tad slower than a larger industrial unit. The high mount switch is convenient, keeping your hands out of the way, yet the overall footprint is still sizable. You'll need at least a 6 by 10 foot space to accommodate the 8-inch table and allow room for the outfeed side. For a cramped garage, that could be a limiting factor. Who should actually buy the ArmorGlide? If you're a serious hobbyist or a small shop woodworker who regularly faces edge jointing, face jointing, and flattening tasks on medium-sized stock, this machine hits a sweet spot. The precise fence tilting system, thanks to a patented handwheel with worm gear, lets you angle the fence in small, repeatable increments, perfect for creating tapered joints or setting up for a specific bevel without hunting with a separate angle finder. The 1/8 inch CH depth limiter knob is another practical touch. You can dial in a consistent cut depth in seconds, which is a lifesaver when you're working on a batch of boards that need a uniform thickness. On the flip side, if you're just starting out and your projects are limited to a few small tabletop pieces a month, you might be better off with a less expensive benchtop jointer that takes up less space. The ArmorGlide's price point is justified by the durability of its cast iron table and the longevity of the carbide inserts, but those benefits become clear only after you put the machine through a few months of regular use. Skipping it makes sense if you already have a planer that can double-check a rough edge, or if you're comfortable using a handheld router with a jig to square up your boards. In those scenarios, the extra precision and table surface area may feel like overkill. Let's talk about daily usability. Loading a board onto the table feels straightforward. The table's 8-inch width gives you enough room to center a typical 26 without having to balance the piece on the edge. The large 8-inch 82-inch cast iron table is sturdy enough that you won't feel any wobble when you feed a longer board through. The handwheel's worm gear gives you a smooth, controlled tilt of the fence, which is something you can actually feel as you adjust, no jerky clicks. I've noticed that the high mount on-off switch stays within easy reach even when you're standing on the outfeed side, which reduces the chance of accidentally turning the machine on while your hands are still near the cutter head. That safety nuance matters more than most people think, especially when you're pulling a long board through.